What's up, YouTube fam? Happy Easter. If you're into that, enjoy it. Mm. It's been a long week. I'm finally off and I can recuperate. Kitty is back to being sick again, so trying to nurse him back to health. What I wanted to do, I wanted to do a little bit something a little different with this particular video. I wanted to talk a little bit more about journaling and making your notes. And, I'm finding it's very therapeutic to write things down. And my partner gave me for my upcoming birthday on Tuesday a set of journals, books that I can start to write my notes in, and really cool pens, multicolored, so I can go nuts. So I've officially, on paper, started writing my notes down. So, like on the 4th of April is when I got these and I started writing notes about it, the things that I discovered that day, and the morning and PM session. And as you can see, I even made a note around the setup that I found in the air, like the sword setup that I found in the air. And I'm finding that, you know, writing these notes, uh, they've been very therapeutic and helpful, like on the 6th when I saw the six sister scenario showing up, and I was very excited. My notes are like six sister on NASDAQ worked really well. But the one thing that really messed me up was, I just kind of I saw it and then just sort of entered. I didn't even wait for it to get to a PD array like an order block or fair value gap or something to enter and take the short and write it down. So that meant that I lost like my 8 ticks or whatever the equivalent of that is on the Nasdaq. I know it's not quite the same since it's $20 per contract versus 50 on the S&P. And then I went back in and I was like, all right, I went back in on the PDOA and I wrote it down for a little bit, and it worked really well. And it's good to write it down. It's good to have it so you can like physically, think through your thoughts and write it down. Like before this, I was doing it in Notepad, and um, it's great, but it doesn't give me the ability to really organize things the way I want them to be organized and all that jazz. So the other thing that I'm doing is now that I have these journals, the other thing I'm going to start doing, because she hooked me up with two sets. This one has the actual spiral lines or whatever. So as I do back testing now, I'm going to like specify the day that I'm back testing and the times and write them all down with the results and or failures, as though, so I can start tracking properly how I'm doing, you know and I think that's going to be extra helpful. I'm so excited. So I'm going to make another video after this one's done, starting with page 1. Anyway, so the other thing that's been really amazing is, I've started to kind of print out my trading plan, my notes and things that I need to actually get started. And I'll just give you like a little brief preview of my some of my notes. Um, I know it's not the best format for me to do so, and it's probably not gonna come out the best. Like even printing out screenshots of the trades that you're doing can be like really helpful to kind of help and remind you what you're looking for. And it's good because then I can walk around, leave the laptop, grab my note, my binder area here, and just kind of go through stuff. So what I wanted to also share with you guys, and I'll get really tiny because I don't want this video to be super long and make it small, is to go with my written notes now. I reference things like, C chart journal for visual, right? So on the 6th, I have on my Google Drive, I've got my trading journal screenshot notes, right? And I started doing them on here because silly me was taking just screenshots and I was just saving them in like a folder. But my partner reminded me that you can actually use Word on Google Drive without, you know, having to buy stuff. So from the 21st, I started make notes and trading before FOMC on this one. So expectations from this daily open gap after the market has rallied higher. In this one, you can see that the the, it opened and huge gap up, right? Empty space. So usually when it does that, it might rally a little bit more, but then it is going to try and come back down potentially and close the gap in. So I have a note here showing that. So like as I make my notes, like SMT divergence made the short make sense because the Dow showed a divergence. So S&P on the top was looking good. NASDAQ was looking good, but the Dow was like, nope, we're not doing that. So that made sense for the short from this one. So it's good to have these screenshots to kind of remind you of how things will work. Like here's a 2022 model from ICT. We see buy side being taken right here, and it drops nicely. Beautiful break, and it leaves a fair value gap. And honestly, there's a bit of a breaker in here too. Like this whole red one, two, three red candles, that's a breaker too. And so if you've got one, two areas where you have a fair value gap, most likely they're going to dig a little bit into the other one, and you can get an entry that's a little bit more conducive to what you want. So I make notes and drop things in to showcase, like, take profit one, etc. And pretty sure I was trying to like make it a little bit. This is an example from ICT for a similar scenario. So I just wanted to remind myself, like, hey, yeah, so good, you're doing well. Awesome. And 323, beginning of the move, and the draw in liquidity is this new week opening gap, so I usually expect them to come in and like go nuts. And then we see that the top of this New York opening gap is acting as resistance. Anyway, it's good to have, and then I took some screenshots of the entries for the trades and how much it got down to. And, an example of another entry potentially measuring gaps don't fill. So measuring gap like this one, want to see this left open since we're halfway to the New Week opening gap below approximately. So measuring gaps don't fill. So that's, things that we can play with and see. And obviously in this one, it came back up and took it. But I mean, in all honesty, if you've taken a short from all the way up here, return into this order block and dropped, as long as you took your profits as it went into the fair value gap, you're good to go, right? Once you see something like this, everything sort of shifted. And then, I just keep making these types of notes that I can go back to and reference. So we see in this one, we've got a nice shift here. And they did it. This was an IO Fed. We had like a fair value gap. It just like tap, tap, dropped. Bearish order block. And the fair value gap is acting as resistance. I feel like personally, as I get better and better slowly, it will become easier to recognize these sorts of scenarios. So I want to note that this is a potential, right? And as I kind of want to flip down to the 4-6 stuff, although I mean, all this is really amazing and it's just good, but I wanted to take a quick gander at the 4-6 six sister thing, which is amazing to me. So ICT taught this, right? It's really amazing to me. The fact that you can have the S&P, between the S&P, the Dow, and Nasdaq, if they've taken out ends, just like and they've gone, and say in this case the Nasdaq hadn't taken it out yet, even though the Dow And these guys had taken out their lows, right? You could take the short from an order block, right there, and write it down for the Nasdaq, which I did in a paper trade, which is great. Um, and then I have some AM session long potentials that happened between the 10:30 and 11 o'clock. Like the setup actually played out at that point. It worked really well. Some short scenarios here, and then the PM session setup for that day was not bad. And then, of course, on the bank holiday, just kind of made everything just stop, which is a little strange to me because the Forex Factory didn't say anything about the US having a bank holiday on Friday, like Germany and Canada and et cetera, but not here. But it just kind of stopped moving at 10. Check the exact time, but before 11, it just kind of stopped. But anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you guys and to note it's also important to document and journal, right? And I've been doing it, but I've been doing it digitally, and I find that I don't reread it. So I'm hoping that now that I can start writing it down, and you'll start noticing now when I backtest, I'm going to be very strategic about how I do it now. I'm going to, move back to a specific day. I'm going to look at a very specific time of day, and I'm going to look for a setup, long or short. And then I'm going to see if it shows up. And then I can start to document exactly how many times it shows up. And that's going to be the plan. So my next video is going to uh, basically go towards that. And just for funsies, and the last thing I'll share with you guys is my the bare bones of my winning trading plan, So, in my table of contents here, I've got my risk management, so my morning routine, requirements for trade entries, entry examples, times not to trade, day trading tax considerations. So, because I'm trying to make this into a full-fledged thing. So once I'm ready to get started, I want to make sure I open up an LLC and remove risk and try and like capitalize on the benefits of being a trader while still working a full-time job, like a part-time trader while still working a full-time job. Now, it might not make sense for me to have an LLC at the beginning, given volume, but eventually. So we'll see. Anyway, so just a quick overview here. So, risk management plan. Let's say I want to start with 10K, then my risk is 1%. I really don't want it to be a 1%. I want it to be like 0.5%, 0.25% of the account, because while you still have capital, you can continue even after a string of losing trades, But, as an example, and I'm just specifying like for the S&P, $100 is 8 ticks per trade, right? But if the trade setup requires more than 8 ticks stop loss, then don't do it. Because as I'm starting to practice and find different setups, I'm finding that the most optimal trades for me don't require more than an 8 tick stop loss. If it requires more than that, it's probably not going to be. It's probably too choppy and annoying and high resistance environment. So probably you shouldn't take the trade. And when I'm trading the E-mini S&P 500, honestly, I'm probably gonna have the Nasdaq as a backup. If I see a six sister on there, I probably wouldn't touch the Dow. But if I see like a six sister in that scenario, then hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. And what contract, right? And my plan is simple. Can I double the 10K into 20K? And I'll document how long that takes. Because then once it's moved to 20K, then I can, my 1% becomes 16 ticks. Or I keep it at my 1%, or that becomes 0.5% because that'll be $100. And then so on and so forth. And then, morning routine, check seasonal tendency stuff just to see where we are for the S&P, for the futures in general. And, and then check monthly, weekly, daily charts for ES, make sure I'm, know what Dixie's doing. outline the high time frame PD arrays. So that's going to be order blocks, breaker blocks, fair value gaps, volume imbalances, all of those things, just to see where we are. And note at minimum the 60-minute PD arrays, right? Determine buy side, sell side, things that they're reaching for from a liquidity perspective. And then watch for any SMT divergences between the three, right? Because if there's a divergence, that might tell you that the ties are changing, or if everybody's in lockstep, beautiful. If they are not in lockstep, then we do not trade. Simple. Wait. We just wait for them to converge. And then look for weekly profiles leading Tuesday. So are we in a buying profile for the week? I don't know. ICT noted them. I gotta go through them, but like for example, if we came in on Monday and there was like a high time frame PD array and they didn't take it, but we're hovering just above it, they take it on Tuesday, like to form like maybe the high of the week. Then I might think, okay, the potential now is for them to, you know, start to take their profits the rest of the week, and you know, it might drop. Or it could be, Monday, Tuesday, they're hovering, and then Wednesday is when they take it, and then Thursday, Friday is where they're like, shoot off into the sunset, or not. I don't know. Some notes for best potentials. Market is poised to trade higher or lower on higher time frames. So make sure the seasonal tendencies are together. Interest rates driven commitment of traders. Intermarket analysis supports bullishness or bearishness, etc. So I have a few requirements here for trade entries. So I want to see some rejection of the PD array, new week opening gap, etc. I need to see. So, for example, if on the daily we've hit like a bearish order block on the daily and they've hit it, rejected it, then that gives me like the beginning kernels of a narrative, right? But then I need like a market structure shift, like a proper break. And then once that break occurs, I need it to leave something like a fair value gap, volume imbalance, liquidity void, whatever. Leave me something. Even better if you leave like a breaker block in that space. I'm finding those are very beautiful, beautiful things. And then, want to see these things on the 5 minute, and then I want to find my entry on the 1 minute. And one thing that I need to remember is if we've been trending in a direction, right? Until I see a very strong reason to shift, then my bias or narrative should remain in that trending direction, right? Because if they're continuing to they can only do one of three things, right? They can either trend up or down, or they can, I guess it's two broad things, trending up or down, or they're going sideways and they're accumulating, prepping for a move. So all depends. So then we're just noting the risk on the one contract, and then profit is at a minimum of 5 handles. So of course, we're utilizing high time frame PD arrays for targets, some old lows, mitigation blocks, breaker blocks, whatever. New week opening gaps, the whole king caboodle. So rule 3 loss maximum, 300 max. I probably will drop that because I'm looking for two trades, right? So if I can find one in the morning, one in the afternoon that pay out really well, I think I'm good. And then of course I drop like examples of what my models look like in here. So my short model, no fair value gap at the main break, um, and then fair value gap at the break, etc. So I think you should make it as detailed as you can. I drop live scenarios in here because higher high, traded through, breaker, fair value gap here, not a lot of stuff. I don't expect them to come all the way back up here because it's a bit of a trek, right? The breaker is these two bottom candles anyway. So new opening gap down below and fair value gap. And just make as many notes in here that you need, like in bearish markets using primaries, anticipate bearish breakers form with price to display lower, short the break, use the stop loss above the high of the breaker. And then of course target this chrono raise. So trying to make like myself little notes and things in my plan, and just areas to remind me of what I'm looking for. And then actual examples of each. Beautiful, beautiful. My long entries still need a lot of work though. Anyway, so we're 20 minutes. How are we already 20 minutes in? I'm sorry. And then my last thing here, long entries, rinse and repeat, flip the script, shift, sell side taken, shift, come back into there might be a fair value gap. Well, this one says no fair value gap, right? Coming back into some sort of like order block in the general vicinity, probably. This one has like a rejection block in here. Then you could take the entry from here if you didn't want to take it from here, right? This one has like the fair value gap in there. You can take the entry closer and go up to some higher time frame PD arrays. We have a couple of examples to help me remember, because I have a bad habit of seeing it and tape reading it, but not actually pressing the button to take the order. And then later on, I will take another one that's just not as good. So you see what I say here: trust the breakup block plus fair value gap after a merge structure shift. And then I just have like other examples. And then times not to trade. Remember this: if the market is like it's moving an expansion higher or lower, if not, it's going into consolidation. We already sort of talked about that. Should you trade consolidations? No. If you're like a micro, like you trade the seconds, then the sky's the limit, knock yourself out. But these occur after large moves. So small moves, then basically your expectation that's going to move pretty quickly after that, right? So wait for something on the economic calendar and then you're good to go. So I just wanted to give myself like a example, like one-sided move overnight, consolidating. And then you can see all of my losses trying to like range, navigate this. I don't think that day I could even get five handles. It was ridiculous. And I have my thoughts about tax considerations, etc., that I'm just doing research on. Um, and examples of all the different deductions and things that are expected under the different styles, S corp versus LLC, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that part's not all that important just yet. I'm still far away from that consideration. All right, guys, this ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I just wanted to share those things. And I feel like there's no profitable trader out there that's going to tell you that you're going to make it without journaling, without taking the time to understand what you're doing. So take it from me as someone who has this dream and knows where I'm headed, but I'm trying to avoid the pitfalls, right? So in order to do that, I need to take the time to write on my feelings, write on my thoughts, provide positive feedback to myself consistently, right? Because you need to, the mind is the powerful thing. If you can train it to know that you're gonna be a profitable trader, you're gonna make a certain amount of money, you're gonna have that financial freedom and the ability to choose that you deserve, then the sky's the limit, right? Nothing's gonna stop you. So with that, I'm gonna just say, drop something down in the comments. Let me know what you think about these types of videos that I'm sharing, because I think sometimes it's best to just share how I'm documenting and how I've been feeling. Probably do another video at some point around, how you hit moments where you just kind of feel like you can't, and it's those times that you really need to push through, like push, 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 because those are the moments that define whether or not you're gonna make it or not. Some people can take the heat and they just kind of stop. And you can't do that. You can't do that. If you have a plan, doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what the dream is, keep going. There's a friend of mine showed me this image. You can see properly. He showed me this image of someone who'd been digging and digging and digging for diamonds, right? But look how close he is. Look how close he is. He just kept going. He would have made it, and he would have been epically happy. And I've printed this out so I can have it hung up so I know. And it's a big physical reminder, visual reminder that I'm not going to do this. right? I'm just gonna keep going every day. And, you know, whatever it is that you're doing in life, you need that mindset. Otherwise, you're not gonna make it. You need to just believe in yourself, push through the hard times. This is not fun and games, right? This is, we have this one life to live and this one opportunity to make make a change. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you won't have other opportunities, but I'm like saying to do anything right, you have to put the work in. You have to put the time in, put the effort in, you know? And if you can't do that, maybe it's not the right moment. I don't know. For me, I had an epiphany last year and I'm like, this won't stand. I can't live like this. So I need to make a change and I want to and I need to. So no matter how I feel in the mornings when I get up, I'm just gonna do, you know, just gonna do. I'm just gonna keep on trucking. So you should too. Don't fight it. You have everything you need to to grow. Everything. All you have to do is want it enough to make it happen. And me, I'm hungry. I don't know about you. I'm hungry. And look, it's not even about the money. It's about my ability to choose more freely. Money is a tool, comes and it goes, right? But I want to be able to say, okay, I won't feel like working today because, I want to go sit by the beach and enjoy the waves, or I want to take a walk in a beautiful rainforest or something. You know what I mean? And I can, and then I can just do that, and I don't have to worry that, oh man, I'm gonna lose my job, blah blah blah, rah, rah, rah. I'm tired. Aren't you just tired? I'm just tired. We're tired of having to get up every day and do the same thing and make somebody else rich. Don't get me wrong, I love my job. I love what I do. I'm very good at my job, and I will continue to keep my job because I'm not stupid. It pays my bills, and I am grateful every day for it. That doesn't mean I can't have a nice side hustle that could eventually turn into a full-time hustle. Come on now. The world is has infinite potential and possibilities. Why wouldn't we grasp them all? I don't think this is going to be the last thing that I choose to do to enhance my world or enhance others. Whatever your motivations are, make it happen. This, this is your greatest weapon. Feed it, weaponize it, use it, make it work for you. Anyway, so again, ah, oh, long video. I apologize for that, but sometimes I just feel like sharing some things, and I've been sitting here thinking to myself, man, I need a break. So I try to sleep in. And I don't like it. I don't like it. Like you get up really late, you don't get I feel like you just don't have enough time in the day to get things done. So I'm gonna still get up pretty early, but not during the day, relax and trade during this week. I'm gonna make another video right after this one, and we're gonna go back into back testing my strategy. And this time I'm going to be focusing very specifically on two times throughout the day and see if my setup forms there. That sounds like a good time. Join me in my next video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on how you're doing journaling and tracking your progress. Because I personally think I'm doing really well, but I get frustrated during the day when I'm working and I can't really focus on the charts. And I like glance over and I think I see something, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, press the button. But that's not a way to trade. That's not a way to do this. This is a business. I need to be strategic. So I'm going to take this week and try and be strategic. So it's again, happy Easter, and hope you're all doing well. Kira out.